Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to unravel a massive, invisible urban mystery. If you look at a standard map, finding the edge of a city seems pretty straightforward, right? You just look for that solid black line drawn by the local government. But today, we're going to completely shatter that illusion. We're going to dive into massive troves of big data to discover the true, invisible borders of a megacity. Specifically, we're looking at Beijing.
So the core question is simple. Where does Beijing actually end? I really want to challenge your assumptions right out of the gate here. We're so used to treating cities like rigid shapes on an administrative map. But the reality? The modern megacity is a biological entity. It breathes. It's defined by these fluid, almost ink-like tidal flows of human movement. I mean, people don't just stop at an invisible political line when they're looking for a cheaper apartment or a better job, do they?
Okay, let's dive into this. Here is how we're going to unpeel the invisible anatomy of this city. Section 1, the map is a lie. Section 2, the big data engine. Section 3, redefining the urban border. Section 4, the 5 radial corridors. Section 5, exclaves and statistical anomalies. And finally, Section 6, the 3 megacircles.
Let's start right off with Section 1, the map is a lie, administrative borders versus human reality.
The real city isn't defined by bureaucrats sitting in an office drawing polygons on a screen. It's actually defined by the daily, organic movement of its people. If you look at a static map, sure, you see absolute boundaries, but the living city behaves completely differently. When the cost of housing inside the city limits skyrockets, the population inevitably spills over. Human movement just bleeds across these official administrative borders, kind of like ink soaking into rice paper. What emerges is this unified, highly integrated labor market that operates entirely regardless of official province lines. It's a living, breathing tidal flow of workers coming in every morning and leaving every night. Moving on to Section 2, the big data engine, seeing the invisible city.
You know, for decades, urban planners could really only guess at the scale of this spillover, but now we actually have the objective methodology to see it perfectly. 50 terabytes, that's a massive amount of data. To map this invisible capital, researchers analyzed a staggering 50 terabytes of mobile signaling data from telecom providers and combined that with millions of location-based service points from Baidu Maps. Over the course of months, this data engine anonymously tracked where phones rested at night, which indicates a home, and where they spend the day, which indicates a workplace. And the punchline of all this data crunching? It revealed that over 300,000 daily cross-border commuters are literally redefining the capital every single morning. The data showed that a massive 3.6% of Beijing's stable employment population actually lives outside the official city limits. This sheer volume of people physically stretches the functional borders of the city far, far beyond its official map.
Which brings us to Section 3, redefining the urban border, the science of the commuter rate. So the crucial point is, if we can't trust the old maps, how do we scientifically draw the new ones? Well, the vital metric is something called the commuter rate. This is simply the percentage of a local area's stable employed population that travels into a central city for work. It's really the ultimate measure of economic gravity. Internationally, and in this specific big data study, planners use scientific thresholds of 5%, 10%, and 25% to determine urban integration. Think about it. If 5% of a town's workforce commutes to Beijing, the gravitational pull has officially begun. At 25%, they are functionally the same city. And this brilliantly illustrates that new reality. Look at Sanhe and Dachang. These are areas located in the neighboring Hebei province, yet they have a staggering 25% commuter rate to Beijing. Literally, 1 in 4 workers there travels to the capital every single day. Places like Sanhe and Gu'an sit right at that 10% threshold, while the Beijing North 5 counties are at 5%. The data proves unequivocally that these areas, despite being in totally different administrative provinces, are functionally part of Beijing's unified labor market. So based on those hard data thresholds, researchers were able to identify 12 distinct invisible districts. We're talking places like Sanhe, Wuqing, Gu'an, and Zhuozhou. All 12 of these distinct counties, which are legally located in Hebei province and a Tianjin municipality, have been silently and functionally absorbed into Beijing's invisible commuting circle. Let's move to Section 4 and see how this actually builds. The 5 radial corridors, the anatomy of the new capital. Now that we've identified the pieces, what does the geographic structure actually look like? Well, the mobile signaling data reveals a very clear anatomical structure, a central mass surrounded by 5 radial corridors.
The city doesn't just expand outward in a perfect circle like a spreading puddle. Instead, it spreads out organically along these distinct corridors: east, southeast, south, southwest, and northwest. It basically mirrors the organic branching of a river system, closely following major highways and transit lines.
But data almost always holds a surprise. Urban planners originally assumed development would largely stay close to the eastern borders. However, the data revealed a fascinating anomaly. The southwest corridor, pointing down towards Zhuozhou and Baidu, is expanding with commuter growth much faster than anyone originally planned. Driven by rapid transit and cheaper housing, this corridor is completely defying those early planning models and is just exploding with cross-border workers.
Time for Section 5, Exclaves and Statistical Anomalies, the frog leap mergers. Now, what's really interesting here, and honestly the most mind-bending revelation of the data, is the towns that merge with Beijing without even physically touching it. It's a direct clash between maps and math. In purely geographic reality, places like Yi County and Dingxing do not share a border with Beijing. There are literally other counties sandwiched in between them. But in statistical reality, their commuter rate to Beijing has officially crossed that 5% threshold. This is known as the exclave phenomenon. These towns have been statistically and economically annexed by Beijing's labor market, leaping entirely over the physical geography. So how is a frog leap merger even possible? It's all about the station-hugging employment model. Step 1. High-speed rail and dedicated regional bus lines are built. Step 2. Time and space dramatically shrink. A 100-kilometer distance suddenly takes only 40 minutes to cross. Step 3. The transit stations themselves become the new factual borders for employment. Infrastructure essentially acts as a teleportation device, rendering traditional geographic borders completely obsolete. You don't need to live next to Beijing anymore. You just need to live next to a high-speed train that goes to Beijing.
Finally, let's zoom out for Section 6, the 3 megacircles, a new mental model for the mega city.
So, we essentially have to throw out the old map entirely and look at a highly structured, scientifically backed framework to understand any megacity. Planners now use this 3 circles model. First up is the commuting circle, reaching 30 to 50 kilometers out. This is the core zone of daily life and intensive labor commuting. This is exactly where those 300,000 cross-border workers live. Next is the functional circle, extending 50 to 70 kilometers. This provides complementary services, like logistics and wholesale markets, that support the central city. Finally, the industrial circle stretches up to 100 kilometers away, focusing on specialized manufacturing that was pushed out of the city center. This right here is the new reality of urban planning. A city isn't just a single dot on a map anymore, it's a massive, multi-layered solar system of economic gravity. We've seen how 50 terabytes of hardcore data proved that administrative lines on a map are just an illusion, and that a city is truly defined by the pulsing, daily tide of its people. It completely changes how you view the world around you, doesn't it? So I want to leave you with this final, provocative thought. If big data can so radically redefine Beijing's borders, where does your city actually end?